In 2019, Marvel was riding high after Endgame and Infinity War. It seemed like they could do no wrong. Then they lost the ability to prioritize story over agenda and started dumping out crappy movies and shows about characters nobody wanted to see. Shockingly, the money dried up almost instantly. Imagine going back in time and telling yourself as you walked out of Endgame that they would screw up the MCU so bad that the Fox X-Men would be the ones to save Marvel. That leads us to Marvel's biggest gamble in years, Deadpool and Wolverine, a movie that they need to succeed at all costs.
Everything is falling apart.
This trailer pretty much confirms everything we already heard about this movie. Deadpool gets recruited by the TVA to go on an adventure throughout the multiverse, where he eventually teams up with Wolverine. Just to make sure nobody forgets he's in this movie though, they actually called it Deadpool and Wolverine. Now this might not be the next $2 billion movie that Disney and Marvel pray for every night, but there's no doubt that relative to their other products, people are much more excited about this than recent disasters like the Marvels.
I don't know. Does anyone want me to do it again?
No. Hell no.
The big question is just how much are they going to let Deadpool do here? We saw him take some very tame shots at Disney, and of course there's his line about being Marvel's Jesus, which implies Marvel needs to be saved. Are all the jokes going to be that subtle, or is he actually going to go all out and mock some of the real problems fans have with recent Marvel movies and shows? I honestly have no idea, because the last time Marvel tried something like this was She-Hulk, and all that did was put all the blame on toxic fans. What's very clear is that this movie is trying to milk any hype out of the fans it can, and addressing the complaints we've had for years would be an easy way to do that.
Is that allowed?
Yes, it's encouraged.
Deadpool was a breath of fresh air when it first hit screens, but now that it's being rolled into the MCU, that could change. The budget on this one is reportedly at $250 million as of now, and that's only going to go up the closer we get to its release. It definitely has a bloated cast too, but a lot of them are characters that people never gave a single fuck about before this movie. I guarantee most of these people who are going crazy over Pyro had no clue who he was 5 years ago.
That is so deeply pathetic.
Wolverine is obviously a different story, but this trailer only gives us a few teases of his role here. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have a great back and forth, so at the very least it's going to be fun watching them team up. Now that leads me to an idiotic misunderstanding that's going to inevitably come up when this movie comes out. If it does well and ends up being entertaining, people are going to shove it in the face of anyone who's ever had any criticism of the MCU as some kind of proof that they've been wrong this whole time. I've said this before and I'll say it again, this looks like a fun movie and one of the first superhero movies I've been somewhat excited about in a long time. It's most likely not going to change anything for the MCU going forward though. It doesn't excuse any of their past mistakes either, and just like No Way Home, they're probably going to learn the wrong lesson from this movie if it does well.
Don't ask questions, just consume product and then get excited for next products.
This has been one of the only Marvel movies people have been excited about since its announcement. The thing that these moronic fanboys need to understand is that it's possible to be excited about this movie because of its potential to stand out from the MCU's other crappy projects, while also acknowledging that after this movie, we're probably going back to the status quo. This doesn't dispel any of the rightful criticisms people have concerning the MCU. Hell, just look at all the nonsense coming out after this. Who's hyped for Agatha and the non-stop title changes? How about Mr. Fantastic becoming Sue Storm's purse boy in a movie that countless high-profile actors passed up on because of how poorly they portray Reed Richards? I know you're all excited about the dollar store Suicide Squad, right?
You serious?
This movie might actually hurt Marvel in the long run because people will want to see more of Deadpool and less of the nobodies they insist on pushing onto the audience. This movie looks entertaining based on the little we've seen so far, but I'm cautiously optimistic given how deceptive these studios are with trailers nowadays. Marvel clearly thinks they have a sure thing on their hands since they made it their only 2024 release, which means they're going to market the living hell out of this movie and add to the bloated budget. We've already seen Deadpool kill the Marvel Universe in the comics, but man, having the entire future of the MCU depend on Deadpool saving the Marvel Universe on screen makes that look like a day at the park.